On September 30th, 2016, Todd Orr was hiking for a trail in Madison Valley, southwest Montana, to scout for elk. When 3 miles in, he spotted a female grizzly bear with her 2 cubs. Moments later, they both made eye contact with each other, causing the mother bear and her 2 cubs to run towards the west and over a ridge. Todd decided that he would wait for 30 seconds before heading towards the east, in the opposite direction of where he saw the mother grizzly run. Todd's worst nightmare then came true a few moments later, when he heard a loud sound coming over his left shoulder. When Todd turned around, he saw the outline of a mother bear charging at him full speed, with her eyes laid back and her body position kept low. The mother grizzly must have seen Todd as a threat to her and her cubs. Knowing this, Todd pulled out his bear spray from his chest holster and slipped out the safety clip, while yelling out as loud as he could, in hopes that the bear would recognize him as being a human and would back away. However, the mother bear continued to charge at Todd with full speed. He pressed down the trigger of his bear spray as hard as he could and sprayed her with its full blast at around 30 feet, but the sheer speed of the bear carried her through the orange cloud where she pounced onto him. Todd swiftly turned himself around and threw his face into the dirt, bringing his hands around the back of his neck to protect himself as best as possible. The bear sunk her canines into Todd's arms and violently tore into his flesh and muscle, turning her head with every bite, before finally letting go of him and running away, coughing from the bear spray used earlier. Todd mentioned that his first thoughts after the attack were forged from relief, as he carefully tried to pick himself up from the ground, where he soon realized that his injuries were very severe. Thankfully, Todd's backpack had absorbed most of the attack, and it was only his right arm and shoulder that had been badly wounded. He then made his way down the trail another 3 miles to reach his car, before taking a quick look at his injuries and noticing that flesh and muscle were visibly hanging from his right arm. At this point, Todd was using all of his remaining strength to try and get to his car and attend to his injuries, but sadly, moments after Todd began his long journey back down the trail, he heard yet again another loud sound coming from behind him over his left shoulder. When he turned around, he could see the mother grizzly once again on the charge. Todd had no time to react to what was going on and could not pull out his bear spray in time, leading the bear to try and finish what she started. Todd posted and shared his story online with others, where he stated, "Again, I protected the back of my neck and sides of my head with my hands and arms. I kept tight against the ground to protect my face, eyes, and soft vital areas. The bear slammed on top of me and ferociously bit my shoulder and arms again, but with much more aggression than before. The force of each bite was like a sledgehammer with teeth. One bite on my left forearm went deep, and I heard the crunch of bone breaking. My hand instantly went numb, and my wrist and fingers were limp and useless. The sudden flash of pain made me flinch and gasp for breath. That slight motion and sound triggered a lot of frenzy, additional bites to my shoulder and upper back. I knew it was vital to avoid any further movement, or the bear was going to tear me to pieces. I focused my concentration to ignore the pain and remained motionless, face down on the ground. More bites and claw swats to my head opened a 5-inch gash above my right ear, nearly scalping me. The blood gushed down over my face and into my eyes. I still did not move or make a sound. My concentration, will to survive, and adrenaline rush had completely blocked out the pain, but I could still feel and hear the pressure and tearing of each bite as the bear's teeth sunk deep into my muscles. She would lift me up off the ground and slam me back down, only to bite again. I truly thought that this was the end. I feared the bear would eventually strike an artery in my neck and I would bleed out on the trail, or she would flip me over and get to my face, eyes, or throat. But I knew that any movement would prolong the attack, so I laid motionless, hoping it would end. I repeatedly told myself that she would eventually leave to check on her cub's safety, If I can only hold out a little longer. Suddenly, the bear refrained from attacking Todd any longer, perhaps assuming that he was already dead. At this point, Todd was fearing that a third attack may occur, and he feared that he would not survive another frenzy of swipes and bites from the bear. Todd knew that he had to try and defend himself this time, so he took his severely damaged right arm and moved it in front of his chest, hoping that he would be able to use his pistol to protect him next time. But his pistol was completely gone and had been ripped out from his body. Once Todd was sure that the bear was gone, he nervously began to move his way back down the trail to his car, holding his can of bear spray in his right hand. Blood was gushing down Todd's face as he finally reached the vehicle where he had left in the parking lot. But instead of going straight to the hospital, Todd's first thought was to try and alert others about the grizzly bear's presence. He attempted to write a note to warn others to not go up the trail, but unfortunately his arm was severely damaged and he could not continue. Todd took many photos as well as videos once he had got inside his car and knew he was safe. That show how graphic and horrendous his injuries really were. I will not show any of them here, but you can easily find them online by simply typing his name, but do be aware that much of the imagery is not for the faint of heart. Todd was then rushed to the hospital, where an X-ray was performed, showing that his ulnar bone was completely broken, along with a plethora of other injuries, mainly residing around his shoulders, arms and head. At this moment in time, he is the only documented case of a human being surviving a double grizzly attack. Mother grizzly bears are extremely protective over their young, and it is a miracle that he managed to survive.